What's up, folks? Today, I want to be looking at two releases that came out recently that I'm particularly excited about. The first one is by OpenAI. They released GPT OSS, their open weights models. There are two sizes, 120B and 20B. And if we go to artificialanalysis.ai, we can take a look and see that these models perform extremely well. If we look at the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index, we see that GPT OSS 120B is scoring 58 on the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index. It's right behind Gemini 2.5 Flash, and it's better than GLM 4.5. It's better than MinMax M1. It's better than Llama Nemotron. It's better than a bunch of other models. And GPT OSS 20B is better than GPT 4.1 apparently, at least according to this intelligence index. So what's up with this release? So they're saying here on the release post that they're releasing these two models, two state-of-the-art open weight language models that deliver strong real-world performance at low cost, available under the flexible Apache 2.0 license. These outperform similarly sized open models on reasoning tasks. They demonstrate strong to-use capabilities. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to test out these models, because they are potentially the start of actually useful local agents, because if they can do tool calling well, if they can follow instructions well, these could be the real deal for using agents locally, which means having models that do like super powerful things on your computer with a local model that doesn't send your data anywhere. So they're optimized for efficient deployment. They were trained using a mix of reinforcement learning techniques. All right, so there's a bunch of information about the release. So I want to go down and see a little bit about the parameters that we're talking about. In terms of layers, 120B is 36 layers. Total parameters, 117 billion. Active parameters per token, 5.1 billion. I'm not even going to pretend that I know what that means. And the context length is 128K for each, which is what to expect from models from OpenAI. 128K is the context length for their main models, right? GPT-4o, GPT-4.1, and so on. So they're trained the models on English with a focus on STEM, coding, general knowledge, tokenize the data using a superset of our tokenizer used for OpenAI O4 Mini and GPT-4o. Then a little bit about post-training. All right, this is what I wanted, evaluations. So they evaluated both of these models across standard academic benchmarks to measure their capabilities in coding, competition, math, health, etc. So 120B outperforms OpenAI O3 Mini and matches or exceeds OpenAI O4 Mini on competition coding, code forces, general problem solving like MMLU and HLE, and tool calling TalBench. So a further model is even better than O4 Mini on health-related queries like HealthBench and competition mathematics like AIME, I guess that's how you say it. And GPT OSS 20B matches or exceeds OpenAI O3 Mini on these same evals, despite its small size, even outperforming in the competition mathematics. So you can see that these models do super well on these evaluations. However, when any model comes out from a closed source provider, I'm always like, okay, they do very well, but I want to know about the evaluations from independent providers. That's why I always look at the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index or some assortment of LLM arenas, because I always care about what independent providers benchmark the model. Okay, so how do we use this model? Well, we're going to go to olamma.com, all right, and we're going to download Olamma, which is really nice because Olamma and OpenAI actually partnered up to launch GPT OSS, and it's actually surprisingly easy to use it with the new chat interface that Olamma put out. So if I open my Olamma interface now, we get this very nice chat interface. And here I actually stopped downloading the big model a while ago. So I'm going to open up a new chat here. I'm going to go for the 20B model first. And we're going to start easy. We're going to start with something like, sup, how's life? And we see that these are reasoning models. The model is going to think a little bit, and then it's going to give us a response. It took a little bit to respond because the model was being loaded into my computer, but now there you go, we get a response. Looks good. So I usually like to start with a basic Python script just to see if the model can actually code something. So I say, I'm going to write, can you write me a simple Python script that downloads 4 images from the free NASA image API and shows them in a grid for me. That's what I want. I don't know why I use this example, but it's the example that I use. So now the model is going to think a little bit. Hopefully the model is going to be able to do that. I always test any model that comes out. This is my Pelican on a bicycle test for some reason. It's not like there's no reason for it, to be honest. I started doing that with, I think, GPT 3.5, and I never stopped. So I tested GPT-4o, 4.1, 4.0 Mini, 4.1 Mini, Claude Sonnet 3.5, 3.7, 4, Even Claude Opus, I tested with this random prompt about using the NASA image API to like show me some space images. I guess I just really like space images for some reason. So there you go. We get a nice little script. Beautiful. So I'm going to copy this. So I'm going to copy the script. I'm going to open up my terminal. Here I am. I'm going to call this NASA something, NASA images.py. As you can see, I had already tested. I'm going to run this just as it is. My environment does have probably the packages needed, and we're going to run it. And it's searching, it's downloading. Okay, this is looking good so far. And yeah, this is not exactly images from space. I mean, I am seeing some images, but not exactly what I thought I was going to get. So let me just give you some context, okay? So I'm going to take the same prompt now, or I'm going to go back to my Olamma interface, to my Olamma UI here. I'm going to take the same prompt, and I'm going to test this with the one and only ChatGPT, all right? So here we are in ChatGPT. Oh, they changed a little bit the interface. Nice, interesting. That's new. There's a lot of stuff to explore on ChatGPT, folks, but right now I'm just going to put this and send it out. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing that we just did with GPT OSS 20B. So I'm going to copy the script, and I'm going to see if we get better results, all right? I'm guessing ChatGPT is going to do a better job. I mean, not ChatGPT. In this case, I'm using GPT-4o. So I'm going to go in, and I'm going to paste this as NASA images GPT-4o.py, and I'm going to run it. Let's see if it does a good job. So we're running. It's not showing me anything. There you go. So that looks a little bit better. I mean, I wish I had seen some downloading footage, but yeah, that looks better. I'm going to take a look at this output that we got. GPT NASA images, this is NASA API, collecting, displaying images. So it's making the requests. So yeah, that looks good. And it's actually space images. It's all right. I'm not really happy with this initial test, but this is a random test, right? So we can actually continue to do much more interesting tests for things that actually matter to see if this model actually does a good job. For example, one of the things I like to do is, for example, take some data from a PDF and then ask the model to organize that data in a table. That's an example that I always like to do. So I'm going to go to some paper that I gotta read. Let's say, I don't know, AI Agents 2025, AI Agents 2025 paper PDF. Let's see what we get. Future of work with AI agents. Sure. Auditing, automation, augmentation potential across the US force. Yeah, I've read this paper a while back, so this should be good. So I'm going to just, this is a lot of pages. Let's copy some information from this paper. For example, I'm going to take these, I'm going to make it simple. I'm going to copy these 3 lines here from this paper. Shrinking demand for information processing skills, greater emphasis, high agency. I'm going to paste that into the model, and I'm going to say, I'm going to start a new chat. And there you go. I'm going to say, a nice summary of these 3 paragraphs in a table for me. And now I'm going to put this output here. I'm going to send it to GPT OSS 20B. And let's see how well the model handles these types of tasks. This is a pretty easy task that I'm sure if I put it on GPT-4o, it's going to do a very, very nice job. But it would be interesting to compare, right? So here we go. Core insight, shrinking demand for information processing, greater emphasis on interpersonal skills, high agency skill. Yeah, it's doing a pretty good job. Illustrative example context. Human interaction, the top 10 high agent. Yeah, the output's pretty good. So it seems like you can do a pretty okay job with organizing things in different formats. In this case, I was asking for a table. So I'm going to put this on the side, folks, and I'm going to ask ChatGPT the same task, okay? So I'm going to go to ChatGPT. I have ChatGPT here on my right. I'm going to copy this post. I'm going to copy this prompt. I'm going to paste it here. And let's see how GPT-4o handles this same task. Here's a clean, organized summary. So yeah, obviously GPT-4o does a slightly better job, I think. So we got key theme, description, detail, implications. Decline information processing skills. Yeah, information processing. It's relevant. Yeah, despite being common. Yeah, I prefer GPT-4o. That's why I like to do these vibe checks, because if you go to the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index and you look at GPT OSS 20B performing better than, for example, GPT 4.1, you're immediately like, okay, this model is better than 4o, this model is this model that, and that's not how it works. You have to vibe check on the tasks that matter to you, but this is still pretty good, right? I mean, this is a pretty decent output, so I'm not gonna write off the GPT OSS 20B. This is pretty good, this is pretty nice. here's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to take in this post from about GPT OSS. I'm going to copy the whole post. And I'm going to say, summarize this article in one paragraph, all right? And I'm going to paste the full article in raw, which is something I do very, very often because I usually don't have the patience. I'm going to delete a little bit of the useless information from the copy paste, just to give the model a chance to give me a decent result. I tested something like this yesterday and it did not work so well. It gave me some weird behavior when I asked for a script and I pasted a raw page. So I thought it was kind of interesting, but let's see what happens when we do this. Okay, so I'm copying this, and I'm also going to test that out with ChatGPT 4.0. I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna start a new chat, and I'm gonna paste the same prompt in GPT 4.0. So let's see what happens. So 4.0 is already, 4.0 gave me a nice little paragraph. Release 2 powerful models under the Apache license, offering state of data. That's perfect. Rivaling these models, they feature a mix of experts. Yeah, that's pretty good. The model is still thinking. I'm thinking this model might do a better job. Let's see. Yeah, combined transformer-based expert. 20B matches reasoning performance of proprietary O4 mini. Okay, this is an awesome response. I really like this, so I'm pretty happy with where we are right now. So it seems like the model can convert like samples of text into other structures and data, like tables and so on. The model can summarize information. The model can write some code. It can write some useful scripts, even though the interpretation of the prompt about generating the images with the NAS API was a bit out there, because you saw that GPT 4.0 was able to understand that I wanted images from space, obviously, not like random images from NASA. But that's also on me. My prompt was a bit vague, so we can't, judge based on that. However, this is just some vibe checking, right, folks? That's why I love vibe checking, because this is just understanding the kind of capabilities we're talking about. I am planning on making a proper video about vibe checking, where having like a systematic approach to evaluate these capabilities. However, I'm pretty happy with GPT OSS 20B. Is pretty good. I haven't evaluated or analyzed its ability to do tool calling and follow instructions. That's one of the things I'm very excited about, because if the 20B model does a good job, that means that we have a capable local agent, like a possible replacement for a lot of little automations you can have in your computer that require a little bit of intelligence. So I'm pretty happy with this. I'm going to try out to see if the OSS 120B is already available here. So I'm gonna say, sup, how's life? And all right, so I still need to download pretty much 30 gigs of this model. So while we wait for this model to download, let's talk about another exciting release that came out very, very recently, and that is Claude Opus 4.1. So folks, this is huge. I mean, not huge, but it's pretty cool. All right, Claude Opus 4.1 is the top Claude model out there right now. And again, if we go to the artificialanalysis.ai benchmark for intelligence, which tells you what are the top reasoning models out there, we see that Grok 4 is number 1. O3 Pro is number 2, but apparently not verified, I guess. That's what it means when we have these little zebra stripes. Something like that. Not sure if that's not verified or not, but okay. O3 number 3, expected. O4 mini high number 4. And if we see here, Claude 4 Sonnet is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, number 7. So apparently there's no, it's so recent that people haven't looked at Claude 4 Opus 4.1, I guess. So that's interesting, because I'm excited to see what happens when they do. That's going to be very fascinating. So if we go to the release post, we see that they are offering Opus 4.1 as a drop-in replacement for Opus 4, delivering superior performance and precision for real-world coding, agentic tasks. It can handle complex multi-step problems with more rigor, attention to detail. That's awesome, because I'm already super happy with Sonnet 4 and Claude Opus. These are my go-to models for agents, for coding. So if Opus 4.1 is even 5% better, that's already amazing. So it's super awesome. Most intelligent model today, pushing the frontier in coding, agentic search, creative writing. With advanced reasoning and powerful collaboration capabilities, Claude Opus 4.1 transforms how teams approach complex engineering and business challenges. Awesome. So I'm definitely going to use it for agents. I'm definitely going to use it for coding. I'm definitely going to use it for search. Definitely not going to use it for content creation, though. And not saying that Claude is awesome for writing, sure, but I don't like writing with AI. And not just because the MIT paper came out saying you should not be writing with AI, just because I just don't find it I don't find writing with AI like a good idea. I like brainstorming. I like reflecting on ideas, suggesting, like, giving me feedback, but the actual writing, I like to do myself. And then if we look at the benchmarks, we see that on agentic coding for SWE Bench, Claude Opus 4.1 does 74.5, better than Claude Opus 4, which is 72.5. Agentic terminal coding, which is huge. If you don't know about T-Bench, folks, I actually got super excited about this leaderboard that I didn't know existed. It's called terminalbench.ai, tbench.ai, the leaderboard, and it benchmarks terminal agents. I don't know why my computer is taking 1,000 years to open that page. Let's open up that page. I don't know why it's not opening up that page. Let's pretend that, let's leave it for a second. So in the GPQA Diamond benchmark, it hits 80.9%. That looks pretty awesome. Agentic 2Us, the Tau bench, 82.4 and 56. I mean, this is huge because tool calling and the ability of an agent to use tools and follow instructions is probably one of the most important types of things you can evaluate these models on, because if they can do a good job at following instructions, they don't even have to be like all that smart, right? I don't need a reasoning model to do my agentic task. I just need a model that I can rely on to follow the instructions correctly. And if you haven't used Claude Code, you should. It's amazing. And it does a pretty good job, that type of task. I don't know why Terminal Bench is not terminal. Let me see. Terminal Bench leaderboard for agents. Let me see. Terminal Bench, T-Bench. Let me see if through Google here we can find it. Bench LM agents terminal leaderboard. There we go. tbench.ai. There you go. This is the Terminal Bench leaderboard, where they benchmark the capabilities of terminal-based agents, things like Claude Code. But apparently, the top-notch best out there is Warp, which is pretty awesome. Because I didn't know about Warp. I didn't find out through this leaderboard. I knew a little bit about it, but I thought it was just like people trying to replace the terminal with some special terminal. But apparently, it's pretty awesome. So you should probably check it out. Warp is pretty cool. But let me just go back to the T-Bench. So this is awesome. And we can see Claude Code here, number 3, with Claude Opus backing it up, which is quite fascinating, because if Claude 4 Opus is putting Claude Code in number 3, maybe Claude 4.1 Opus is going to put Claude Code up there at number 1. I don't know, maybe. So going back to the release, the model is awesome. 4.1 is great. And if we go to Claude.ai, we can test it out. There we go. We can go Claude Opus 4.1. And here we are. We can test it on the same tasks that I tested the GPT OSS model. I'm going to go back to this chat. We see that now we are ready to test GPT OSS 120B, but I'm going to go to that Python script to use the NAS API. So how's live? Let me see. And can write a simple Python script. There you go. So let's see how Claude Opus 4.1 handles this task. This would be very interesting to evaluate. So there you go. It's doing a pretty good job. It's actually quite fast, which is interesting. It's actually super fast. Wow, that's not, I mean, not super fast, but it's pretty fast. For a big reasoning model, pretty fast. All right, perfect. So now I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it here, paste it now as something. Instead of GPT 4.0, now it's Claude Opus 4.1. And now we're going to run it. Claude Opus. Yep, there you go. Let's see if it works. It'd be hilarious if it didn't work, right? Ah, there you go. Those are the best results, as expected. I mean, it's not a very complex problem, right? But I like these images. Clearly, it downloaded the type of stuff I was looking to see. Yeah, grid looks awesome. Yeah, that looks pretty great. Excited to see what kind of stuff can I do with Claude Opus 4.1 that I could not do before. For example, let's test it on something interesting. I'm going to open up Claude Desktop. I'm here in Claude Desktop. I have Claude Opus 4.1 marked here, ready to go. If you don't have Claude Desktop, but you have a subscription for Claude, you should use Claude Desktop, all right? And it's super easy. You can go to Claude, I think it's a Claude Desktop download. You can just Google that. You can click on download the Claude, and there you go. Because Claude Desktop allows you to set up MCPs or connectors, which give Claude the capability of controlling your computer in different ways. So like checking out your calendar, writing notes, and doing stuff like that. So I can go to Claude now, and I can look at the MCP and connectors that I have. And I have one here for Canva. So let's test it on something using Canva, because it's an interesting connector. Essentially allows you to interface with Canva, which, if you don't know, Canva is like a design tool to make, thumbnails and design work. If you've never used Canva, Canva's pretty interesting. It's kind of like if you don't have the money to pay a subscription for Figma, use Canva, all right? And you can do thumbnails. I use it for thumbnails mostly, but you can do social media posts, presentations, whiteboards, all sorts of stuff. So I'm going to go to Claude. I'm going to select the Canva connector here. There you go. Get design, search designs, import design, get export formats, create a folder, move icon, list, comment, reply, generate a design. There you go. I'm going to say generate a design on Canva for my upcoming YouTube video where I discuss the releases of three models, I guess, of GPT OSS, open weight models from OpenAI, and the one and only Claude Opus 4.1. I'm going to say you can learn more about these releases by checking out these release posts. And I'm going to put the release posts right here, okay? So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to copy the release post for Opus for 4.1. And I'm going to also put the GPT OSS release, which is right here. I'm going to copy this link. I'm going to go back, paste it here. Great. And let's see what happens. So hopefully it's going to use the MCP Brave to search the web for those release posts, understand them, and then use the MCP for Canva to generate the design. So it's fetching the information from the articles. This is very good. This is not so great. So it doesn't seem like it did a good job of fetching the information, which is kind of weird, but still not going to affect the actual release of the actual generation of the thumbnail if it understands what those things are, right? But I am getting an error here, which is concerning. You're leaving Claude to visit an external link. Yeah, I don't know if it did a good job, and it seems to have done a bad job with the Anthropic link. So let's click. Oh no, it did a good job. Okay, so I think it was able to do something. So let's see how it looks. Perfect. I've generated 4 designs for your video. And here are your options. Design previews, 1, 2, 3. This is pretty cool because we have design options now. So I'm going to check out this one. So let's open it. All right, that's pretty cool. Very good. I mean, it's a bit blank, a bit basic, but hey, it's pretty good. Let's see design number 2. Again, opening. All right, this is okay. This is something. I mean, I have a system for generating the thumbnails that involves like using a model that trains on my face to generate my face, and I have like a bunch of things that I do, but I like evaluating the capabilities of these models to generate images in general. So this is pretty interesting. Now the final option. Okay. I mean, Claude. Okay, this is pretty funny. But Claude here, Opus 4.1. This is pretty good. I gotta say, this is pretty. I am happy with these initial like silly results. I would not use it for this particular purpose in this scenario with this situation. I would do it in a different way. But the fact that it was able to use the MCP tool and leverage Canva in some neat, interesting way, pretty good. Okay, so now that we've done that, and Claude 4.1 is pretty good, I'm going to go back to Olamma here, and we are going to test out the one and only, the 120B model from OpenAI. The open weight model that's like stirring the pot. It's supposed to be super good. I mean, it's a big model, but I do have like a badass computer. So my Mac should be able to run this model. I'm going to paste the silly little Python script generator prompt to generate the NASA images. And let's see if this model can handle that task. So now we're loading up the model. This is going to fry my computer a little bit. I'm actually curious to see how much is going to fry my computer. So I'm here in my activity monitor looking at how much. Yeah, my computer's already getting slower. So I already know that stuff is coming. Memory used 80 gigs right now. This model is like putting up 60 gigs. Yeah, 60 gigs of RAM to run this model. That's crazy. But hey, my computer has, in theory, 128 gigs. So it should be able to run it. The model is running. So I'm able to run the GPT OSS 120B model. Pretty happy. The results are looking pretty cool. Okay. All right. The script looks decent. Oh, look at that. Type hinting, build search URL, search the NASA API. It's using the search term Mars. Okay. Don't know if I love Mars, but okay. Interesting how generating these scripts, you can see like, okay, I didn't say what kind of images I wanted. But the model chose Mars, which makes sense. It's from the space. It's from space. So let's see if the output's actually good. It's a lot of code, so it should be pretty decent. There's like a strategy to remove temporary folders. I like that. That's smart. So I'm going to copy the script. I'm going to go to my terminal. I'm going to paste it as NASA. This is the GPT OSS 120B. 120B. I'm going to paste that in there. Now NASA images, GPT stuff, OSS stuff. There you go. We are running the script right now. Oh, look, this is nice. Look at that. There's even a little emoji. Oh, no, but the output looks... No, but here's the thing. It looks great. The truth is, it did use the NASA image API. The problem is it looked for a weird key term, right? So if we were to look at the result that we got with the one and only GPT-4o, right? NASA images GPT-4o. If I was to take a look at that, right? Get the NASA images. The query was moon, which I guess, like if I put moon in this script that I generated with the 120B model, so I'm going to open up cursor here in this folder. I'm going to find the script. So NASA images 120B, and I'm going to put moon here instead of Mars, right? So I'm going to say moon. And now I'm going to open up the terminal, and I'm going to run that again. So it's gonna, the results are probably going to be much better. All right, not much better. So it's using the API in different ways. So that makes me a little bit more wary about what's going on. So let's see. So this is the usage of the NASA API, right? API endpoint, ta-da-da-da-da. If I go to the NASA GPT-4o, and there you go, and we open to the side, media type image, build search, get NASA images, query moon, requests to the URL, ta-da-da-da-da. Build search URL. So build search URL, queue, media type. Yeah, that looks pretty similar. Data.get, collection, response.json, da-da-da-da. Parameters, there's a timeout of 10. I mean, results.append, this and that. It did add a lot of extra stuff, so it looks nicer, but query, there you go. The images were actually using the query earth. So let's try with earth. So I'm going to say earth, and now I'm going to go to my terminal. I'm going to run the script again. Yeah, the result looks good, actually. Look at this printing of the output. GPT-4o didn't do any of that. There you go. So yeah, so that's pretty good. So that's a perfect response. I would say this is perfect. And look at this. This is not, I like this. So this is probably GPT OSS won this little tournament, folks. I think that what was interesting is that if we look at the response from Claude 4.1, here's the thing. Demo key, there you go. NASA provides this demo key. So Claude 4.1 actually used, I think, a better API because it used this planetary /apod, and the other models used gov.search. So yeah, I think fetch for images, and it's like random images, literally random images, but from an API that I guess looks a little bit better. So if I go to this website, just out of curiosity now, if I go in there, apod, all right. So yeah, you can't, there's nothing going on in there. But okay, so I really like all of the responses, but I'm really happy with the response from GPT OSS 120B. Pretty fascinating. However, let's do like one more test, right? So one test I like to do, like I said, is summaries and things like that. So let's do this. I'm going to try something I've never tried before. So in this page from artificialanalysis.ai, you can see a bunch of results from benchmarks and all sorts of stuff. I'm going to ask the 120B model to summarize this page, summarize like the main insights from all of these results, right? And so I'm going to hit Control A, Control C, and I know I'm copying this raw, so it's not the best way, but I'm going to say summarize all the insights from this page from artificialanalysis.ai into an organized table. And now I'm going to put the raw page results right there. I'm going to remove some of the clutter just a little bit because we want to give the model a chance. And let's see what kind of outputs we get. So I'm going to send that out. And if it does a good job with this, that'd be pretty awesome because this is a super useful thing that I could have this model do on a regular basis for me. So that'd be interesting to see if this model can do that well. So the model's going to be thinking for a while. I mean, here's the thing, folks. The thing about this release, of the 120 OSS. We can always go to the one and only Simon Willison, probably already covered the GPT OSS 120B release. Yep. Folks, if you don't follow Simon Willison yet, what are you doing? If you're interested in AI engineering tooling, follow Simon Willison. He is the man, all right? And there you go. So achieves parity with O4 many. So he's going to summarize everything that's going on. Both models are a mixture of experts. Mixture of experts, my understanding is it's an inference technique to make inference faster. So you might have a model that has a bunch of parameters, but mixture of experts allow you to kind of recruit some of the parameters during inference instead of using everything, which is great for speed. But some is surprised. Benchmarks was the score for general knowledge. I can just believe that showing the model. A lot of these benchmarks are edging towards saturated. So he ran the model on his Mac with LM Studio. Blah, 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 blah. I ran it with Olamma. That's fine. So first impressions, Pelican and reasoning low. Okay. So this is kind of interesting. And let's try. Yeah, this is my favorite vibe checking benchmark ever. Generating an SVG of a Pelican riding a bicycle. It's a pretty fun example. I think I want to try this as well. So I'm copying this right now. But yeah, but it's a tough, if it's not a model that people are like really paying attention to, this is a tough one. So it can, there you go. It can make some Space Invaders. There you go. Write an HTML JavaScript. It thought for like a few seconds, produce this. You can play that here. Nice. That's pretty good. Trying with the API providers. Yep. Cerebras is super fast as an API provider. You should check them out. So yeah, the 120 is pretty good. And the model is still thinking about our little request to summarize the artificial analysis page. But yeah, this model I think has a lot of promise. I don't really, with these things, honestly, folks, here's the major thing. I'm not going to stop using Claude or ChatGPT or even Gemini for that matter, right? There's like a place for me for all of these different models. However, if we could get to a point where we can start using these local models for local agent tasks, that could be really nice, right? And I saw a few people on X, even on LinkedIn, talking about setting up really powerful local setups with models like this that can power local agents, that can power like RAG pipelines for their personal notes and personal documents. This is the kind of stuff where, for example, the 20B model is quite fascinating for me, all right? So still waiting on the response. I mean, it was a lot of text that I sent, so I imagine that the model is going to take a while. While we wait for the model to be done, I would like to test out Claude Opus 4.1 on a task that involves a few of the connectors that I have here on my setup. So not on the browser, obviously. I'm going to go to my Claude. There you go. I'm going to delete this chat because I don't need it anymore. And I have a bunch of connectors, folks, which are MCPs for a bunch of different things, for like creating Yankee flashcards, for creating pages on Notion. I have Desktop Commander, which is my favorite, to create files on computer and so on. And here's the thing. Why don't we test this on, for example, a task that involves taking some notes based on some stuff that I'm going to say. Why not? So here's the thing. I'm going to say, sup Claude. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to go to my computer, and I have a folder here, folks, which is called Content Ideas. And I have a bunch of these notes that I keep with ideas that I'm developing with the help of some AI agents and some notes and supervisions that I do, right? So I can work on multiple ideas at once, right? And I might, when I have a system for this that actually looks pretty good, I'm going to do a video on it, which I think is pretty cool. But I want the model to read through these files and summarize, like, do an overall summary of all the ideas I'm working on. So I'm going to get the path to this folder. Okay, so I'm going to copy to my clipboard. I'm going to go back to Claude, and I'm going to say, go to this folder, read through all my notes, and write a nice comprehensive table-like summary of the ideas I've been working on, and rank them based on what you think will perform the best on YouTube. All right, so it's a pretty silly prompt, but that involves using the MCP desktop commander to go to that folder, read through the notes, summarize the notes effectively, and then organize them in a structure that's easily readable for me, so that I can, maybe do some, I don't know, maybe I can do some potential rewrite of some of those ideas based on inputs, things like that. So I'm going to allow, And now we're going to go back to Olamma. And, oh, come on. We're still waiting, folks. We're still waiting. So I don't think I will ever ask for huge summaries from models like this. It's not very trustworthy. But Claude Opus 4.1 seems to be doing a pretty good job right now. So I'm excited to see what kind of stuff we get out of this model right now. So it's reading the files. It's doing the task. And there you go. Content idea summary and YouTube performance ranking. Pretty nice. Oh, look at that. Oh, this is so cool. So rank number 1, using AI tools in 5 levels of complexity. That makes total sense that this is the best one, because this is one of my best videos on YouTube is called Building Agents in 3 Levels of Complexity. So I am not surprised. So this is a pretty good choice. Claude Desktop MCPs for studying. That's another video I want to do. How to choose the right AI for your use case. Productivity in the agentic era. Taking notes with Claude Code. I do take notes with Claude Code. Learning new software with AI. I have an idea for that. It's going to be really cool. Orchestrating agents for personal use. Yeah, look at that. Estimated views. All right, so number 1 is like over 100,000. I wish. I don't have any videos right now that have 100,000 views, but I will get there. I will get there, folks. Maturity, universal appeal, practical, progressive guide from beginner to advanced AI usage. Yeah, this is awesome. This is really good. This is a beautiful use case. I love Claude Opus 4.1. Does a really good job. And the GPT OSS 120B, let's see if it finished the task. No, it has not finished the task. So I guess this is going to be a model that you use for very specific tasks that you don't care are going to take a while. But in the meantime, you can be using Claude Opus 4.1 because it's a pretty damn good model. Look at that. This summary, I'm actually going to use this summary. This is a pretty good way for me to keep track of all of these ideas I'm trying to work on in parallel. And I love using Claude Desktop with MCP because it allows me to have this control over the computer. And I have the same type of situation with Claude Code. But if you're a non-technical person and you want to explore this idea of having a personal dashboard hub to control your computer, this is the way to go. For example, here's a demonstration of that. I'm going to say, awesome. Save this table as a new Notion page for me. And call that page content ideas summary something. All right. So hopefully what's going to happen is that it's going to use the Notion MCP that I have to create a new page there with the table and all of the information that it was produced. So hopefully that's what's going to happen. It's going to be beautiful, awesome, great, marvelous. So let's take a look and see what happens. Copy the formatted table, save it. So it's writing a file right now. Okay, it's writing a file. I don't know if I love that because, writing a file with desktop commander. Okay. Save it as a markdown that you can import to Notion. No, that's not what I wanted. That's wrong. All right, folks, that was not correct. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to help a little bit. So I'm going to say, let me just go to my tools here. So in my connectors, wait, folks, that was not Claude Opus 4.1 fault. As you can see, my Notion connector was not turned on, which I do often. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn on, enable all tools. So now I'm going to say, try again. I'm going to put my notes back in the context of the model to refresh. Try again. Here are the notes. Use the Notion API MCP. And the notes, and I'm going to paste the notes there. And now it should, hopefully, use the Notion API because the Notion API was not enabled. So obviously what the model did is wrote the thing to a file and told me to upload it to Notion, which is a perfectly valid response if the Notion API was not enabled, right? The Notion API, no, the MCP for Notion was not enabled. So let's see, post page, there you go. So now it's using the Notion API MCP. And while we wait, we can check in on this task and still nothing, folks. We might finish the video and still get no result for this task. Post page, post search, post search. Okay, I'm enabled. Okay, we're getting some Notion API integration issue. That's annoying, but it's okay. It's okay. It's probably not Claude Opus 4.1 fault. This is probably a fault of the MCP connection itself, which I'm okay with. I forgive. So let's see if we can write it to a file. So I'm going to say, in that case, write it to a note for me on my Apple Notes. So let's see if it can do that. If it can do that, that's already something. Because then I can have it as a note instead of, there you go, add a note. Just like a really cool use case for this type of MCPs and so on. it's not saving exactly what I wanted. It's like creating a new kind of, note with like a more text-based style, which I don't love. But I'm okay with that because it is actually the correct information in the correct note. So I'm happy with that. All right, folks, I'm going to try a different task with GPT OSS 120B because this task is taking way too long. So I'm going to delete this chat. Okay, I'm going to delete this chat. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, I'm going to allow always here for my little Claude note. I'm going to say for GPT OSS, generate an SVG of a panda riding a bike. All right, that's going to be my last super powerful test of GPT OSS 120B. Whether or not it can generate an SVG of a panda riding a bike, right? Not a pelican, because I want to be different. So that's super original. I'm going for panda. And hopefully that's not going to take 1,000 years for GPT OSS 120B to make. There you go, folks. We are now operational with GPT OSS 120B. So I'm excited that this one might work. And this is going to be how we conclude this video. While we wait for GPT OSS again, we're going to check in on this note. So I'm going to open up my notes on Apple Notes. And there you go, folks. Oh, this note looks horrible. I would never use this ever. But it did create the note. It's just that the content of the note is horrible. But I'm going to use now Apple's intelligence, okay? Which I never do because you know why. But I'm going to come here. I'm going to say table. Ah, of course. That's not good for Apple. Come on, Apple. I'm going to say, I don't know, list key points. Let's try key points. All right, key points, it seems to work. So I'm using Apple's intelligence, which I never use. But for these types of rewrite tasks, that could be a good, yeah, and I'm going to replace. There you go. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's a pretty nice little use case. You can generate a note with like Claude Desktop MCP, and then you can clean it up and refresh it and freshen it up with Apple's intelligence. And I guess that's something you can do. I mean, it's poorly done, right? Like the evergreen, content idea, that this is bad. So top performing, content idea, this. So yeah, this would be like this. Oh, yeah, it's not a very good organization, but it's okay. There you go, folks. GPT OSS 120B, we're done generating the SVG. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it here on my computer. So I'm going to paste it anywhere here. Paste it as panda bike.svg. Now let's open it. And no, I don't want to open it like this. So let me just open it the right way. I think I can say Chrome Panda, something like that. No. Google Chrome Panda? Also no. Let me just open it like this then. Panda Bike SVG. Oh, come on. There you go. I can open it with Google Chrome. And there you go, folks. It's a panda. It's a bike. It's not exactly riding the bike, but I'm happy. And with that, folks, we conclude today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and catch you next time. Cheers.